Hey up and welcome to the Temple of Bleh. This is a conversation with Stan Havard from UK thrashers Xentrix. Xentrix are one of the UK's big four. First started making waves in the late 80s, early 90s. We get into all that shit, but in the meantime, Xentrix are back in earnest, having put out another album in 2019, Bury the Pain, and from what I hear, a new album in the works, which we'll hear about in a few minutes. Let's get into it. 1, 2, fuck shit up. Open up, Stan, with questions about the recent happenings with Xentrix and all the things that you got planned in for 2021. So can you give us the skinny on a new record? I'm hearing rumblings of demos and things going around.
Yeah, in fact, well, because obviously we've had nothing to do for a year, so we've got more than we need for a full album. We're just going through this stuff now, picking the best ones, you know. So we've got plenty of stuff to go at. The process is I write the stuff, but this time around, Jay's been involved in writing the words. He's written most of the words this time, which is good because I don't like writing words. And so me and him have been recording, because you can still go in these rehearsal places. Because he lives in Bristol, so we've been meeting up in Birmingham, all right, which is great because it's the birthplace of heavy metal.
Yeah, it's convenient.
Yeah. And just recording vocal demos on top. So now I'm going through the process of teaching Dennis, the drummer, and the bass player the bits. So we're putting it all together. But we've pretty much done that now. So we're not far off, like sort of booking into some actual studio time and starting recording properly, you know.
Who have you got in mind in terms of studio and producer and all that stuff?
Well, we'll kind of do it. I envisage we'll do it the same way as we did the last one, which is we'll go and do the drums with somebody, hopefully, probably with Andy Sneap, and then we'll take it back away and record it all ourselves, and then take it back to him or whoever, because he might be busy doing Judas Priest type things.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, that's about a lot of them do it these days.
I was going to say it's conventional now, isn't it, to track it somewhere and let someone else do the mixing and the post processing.
Because the kit's a lot more available and not as expensive, and the way you can do it, you know, you can give them the DI signals and they can reamp it and stuff, so you still get the same sort of big guitar sounds, and it's the drums that you can't really do at home. So that's why we'll go and do them there and record them properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the plan at the minute. So we're just it's just COVID's just put the mockers on things, you know. But for everyone really, so I'm not moaning about it.
It should be a good year though, once everyone sort of comes out of it with all this pent up material and plans and things. It's interesting you say that about the methodology, because when I'm on this Roadrunner stuff, I'm obviously going back and speaking to like the old new wave of British heavy metal artists that were on the label prior to your time, and I asked them about like what they're doing in terms of new material and stuff, because it's easy as fuck to like send Ableton projects over to each other, but they're very much kind of not puritanical, but like we need to be in the same room as the lads, otherwise it don't really vibe with me. So it is interesting that I think chronologically, I'm working towards the generation of people that are embracing the technology a bit more.
Well, I've kind of it's me that does that mainly because I do for a living. I do video editing, so it's kind of I've learned to actually do that side of Pro Tools and Logic and stuff to get my head around it. I've had to, and once you know what you're doing, it makes life, you know, it's amazing what you can do remotely and stack it all up. And so, yeah, but I do like the whole being in the same room and writing and recording, which is how we used to do it. So I'm still got that old school sort of thinking. In fact, on the last album, the Bury the Pain, we actually recorded that in this way, where I wrote the songs and then we went to Andy, blah blah blah. But for we wanted to do an extra track, and so I knew for a fact our bass player was the youngest member of the band. He was only 4 when our first album came out, Um, so he'd never been into a studio and recorded like live onto tape, which is how we did Shattered Existence, all playing in the same room at the same time. So we went down and we did one song like that. You can tell it sounds different to the others, but it's quite cool in a way. It's got like it has actually got a vibe. You know what I mean? Because it was on like an actual tape. It's like right, and we were the guy's like who was recording it. He's like, I don't really want to have to go over this tape. So you've got one more take to get it right, And so there was like pressure, and it was good. It worked. It sort of something came from it. You know what I mean?
I think like I'd recommend anyone to just do a little bit of production, right? Because I think once you've done a little bit, you understand the nuances of the vibe in the studio in a big way. Because like you could easily just like play a riff and it's job done, but if you capture a particular day of the week or a particular mindset, it can change the dynamic entirely. One, I guess like kind of an on-the-nose example is the Typo Negative. They did a cover of Summer Girls on Bloody Kisses in '96. Was it exact cover? No, it was Summer Breeze. Oh fuck it, I've forgotten the trivia. But anyway, basically it was a cover, and the original band said, "Fuck that! You can't do what you've done. You've either changed the lyrics. You've got to do the actual song, the actual cover, exactly how we recorded it, instead of making your own version." And there's two versions of it. There's the one which Pete Steele sort of developed in his own way, which is like the original version, and then there's the one that came out on the album, which was the like for like cover. And you can tell the difference in the recording because one is a lot more like the gain is so high, it's like the mic is in his mouth, like the rest of the album, really consistent. And the second one is a little bit of a drier delivery, but you don't notice it until you've heard that story. I think those nuances are so important and people don't realize it.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, a lot can affect just what comes out in all manner of things, not just vocals, in drums and guitars and all sorts. Just what comes out in the day, how everyone's feeling. Have you had too much to drink the night before?
Yeah. Have you got any gigs lined up this year then, as we sort of mosey our way out of lockdowns and whatnots?
Well, yes. This year, I think the next gig that it's looking like we're supposed to be doing is actually in Germany in November.
Shit.
Which is a festival called I think it's a metal Hammer Paradise, I think it's called.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
And I think like Saxon are on the day we're on. There's quite a lot of new wave British heavy metal. There's not that much thrash on. And the second day I think it's like German stuff like Blind Guardian and actually I don't know the difference. What's the difference between Udo the band and Dirk Schneider the band? I don't know. But Dirk Schneider are on. Anyway, so we've got that, and then in December we're supposed to be going for a weekend away to Russia.
Oh, nice.
With Destruction.
Oh,
just doing 2 gigs with Destruction and a Swedish band called Enforcer.
Right. That's bitching.
Yeah, it should be that. I mean, if it happens, yes. At the minute, nobody knows about anything, so we just say yes to everything and then deal with it when it gets cancelled.
Yeah, no else you can do really. I'm just hoping Bloodstock's on this year because I need my release. I need to like put the keys and wallet in a locker and just have my health for 5 days.
That's it. I mean, it's looking like it might do, but. It felt like when they were announcing it, everybody was going, "No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen." But who knows?
Yeah, still things are getting cancelled, but I think that might be an admin thing because it must be like an insurance job or something like that. Yes. Like they can't get the insurance for the events because they don't really know. Therefore, they can't muster the risk just in case. So, yeah, we're treading the line a bit. We'll see what happens like. But today's the day, innit, where things started opening up a bit more. Cineworld opens up on Wednesday, so that's my evenings. And I'm not doing an interview. I can watch some sort of shitty re-release of Flash Gordon like I did last time lockdown was eased. But anyway, would you like to talk about your former employers?
Yeah, what I can remember.
Yeah. All right. Let's go in the Wayback Machine and let's have a gander. So there's a cool thing online I found. It's the Sweet Vengeance demo.
Right.
Well, it's actually 2 demos. It's a Sweet Vengeance demo, then a Roadrunner demo. How did the transition and this evolution come about from Sweet Vengeance into Xentrix, and how does it play into the Roadrunner timeline if it does?
We did that demo. I think it was for my 18th. I think my dad paid for that for my 18th birthday. That first demo, and we sent it around all the labels, like you do, and we sent it to Metal Forces, who were reviewing demos, and I don't think we didn't send it to Roadrunner.
Were they not on your radar, or was it just? It's like an admin oversight. It's like, no, I never heard of them. No,
we kind of, probably sent it to all the ones that no one, we probably sent it to Music for Nations, and I don't know, I can't remember. I think it was Dennis that was sending the demos out, and but he sent it to Metal Forces, who reviewed it, and I'm trying to remember how Mark Palmer, who was working at Roadrunner, actually got in contact with us. There must have been an address on there. And he got in contact with us and said, "Why haven't you sent me a demo?" So we did have a manager at the time, so we hastily he got him on the phone, I think, and we sent him a demo, and they were interested. And our manager told him that we had a gig in Leyland at this small club, and he got Mark to come up from London and come and watch us. And what he didn't tell him, we didn't have a gig. We were playing above a pub in a function room.
Nice.
And he only told him when he actually walked in the room that there wasn't a gig. It was just we were going to play for him.
What was his reaction to that? Did you feel special after learning that?
Well, it was a bit of a sort of it was a bit weird, obviously, sort of playing to just one person and headbanging and things like that. It was a bit strange, but we just did it because we were like teenagers, really. And I think our manager had made sure that he'd missed his last train, or missed he couldn't get a train, so he had to stop over. And anyway, the next day they offered us a deal, so we were like, right, yeah. I mean, at the time it was like anything, we'd just take anything. So I think they offered us a 7-album deal at the time. We didn't get to 7 albums.
That's usually the modus operandi at Roadrunner at the time. So 6-7 albums, option after the second.
Yeah.
I don't know about late 80s, but certainly mid-early 80s, about $5,000 advance.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I'm trying to remember. I think we might have got more than that. I think our first one was 7.
Yeah. Yeah, things are moving on a bit, I think, once we start approaching the 90s. And it's effectively a 360 deal at that point. I think it was like 360 deals before 360 deals were normal. That was it. But to play devil's advocate, I guess, even though you were taking anything you could get, Roadrunner is quite a reliable vehicle for metal, especially at that time when they were resting on the thrash and the death and the things like that.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, they didn't have. I mean, they had sort of the stuff coming in from America, like Sacred Reich, who weren't signed to them in America, were they? They were only in Europe. Because we had our first album, we were going to call it Crimes Against Humanity, believe it or not.
Wow.
And Sacred Reich were going to call their album that. And Roadrunner made us change it. They said, "Oh, they're above you, so you're going to have to change your album title." We were like,
"Sorry, lads."
Yeah, it was like bastards. So we changed it to Shattered Existence, and then the week later they said, "Oh, no, we're not using that title now. We're going to call it American Way." We were like, "We don't want your crappy title now, anyway." So. So yeah, but then the main guy, Case, he wasn't sure about us, if I remember rightly. He thought we were a bit too clean cut for Roadrunner.
That's an interesting comment.
I remember something about that. He was on about like, yeah, can we get some photographs of them in the gutter eating rats? And we were like, whoa, you know, that's one of the things I remember.
I don't think it's impressed him before, though, has he?
That's true. Yeah. We could have sorted that out. And so that's why we did that demo for them. That was in London. They sent us down to London.
All right, so you had a Sweet Vengeance demo, which was like, that gets you the deal, and then they send you off to do another demo to solve.
Yeah, it was kind of like, well,
assess viability, I guess.
Yeah, so I think we did 3 songs.
Yeah. Interesting. So why did you change the name then? Because if they've signed you as Sweet Vengeance, have they, or have they?
No. Was that before? No, we changed beforehand, I think.
Right. Okay.
I think so. Christ, I can't remember. Yes, we did change beforehand, and that was like one of the things was right. You've got like 5 days to pick a name for a new name for your band. You know, I was like, oh, no. I mean, none of us. Sweet Vengeance was just like a band name that Chris Astley had from when he was at school. You know, it was a proper new wave of British heavy metal style name. You know,
yeah.
Anything with sweet and vengeance in it. It was like, you know, so. It didn't fit the band, but so we ended up with, and I still to this day don't really recall how we ended up with Xentrix. I think it was we were going through the dictionary and stuff and picking words. I think the idea was let's try and find something that isn't anything, or you know, it is its own sort of thing. So you just associate it with this band, you know. That was the idea. Whether or not we actually did that, I don't think we did. But yeah, and I think then somebody said, well, let's put 2 X's on it and make it pointy, and you know, that's how it came out. I remember at the time, I think none of us liked it. We were like, "Is that it? Is that what we're going with?" You know.
It's so northern. This entire sort of like debacle is incredibly northern.
And the record company, like Mark, they were all like, no, we like it. It's great. You know, it's different. It's different, and that's what it needs to be. We're like, okay, you know, fine. we'll just carry on what we're doing, and play the music. You know.
Yeah. So, did you get any feedback from any other labels when you were sending them out to everyone under the sun who wasn't Roadrunner?
Not really, no. We just got the usual sort of thanks but no thanks, if there was anything, really. Yeah, there wasn't any competition really. That wasn't, you know, there wasn't like loads of labels up and vying for us. It was just, nah, they weren't. You don't know if anything gets listened to in those instances, really. You know what I mean?
It's fire and forget, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Really?
So you just put it out there and see what happens. I mean, I don't even know what the situation it is with that net these days. I have no idea how it works. I don't even think obviously you don't send tapes to CDs anymore, do you? But I don't know.
It's all, from what I can gather, it's all Spotify metrics. That's like the driving force behind most of the A&R functionality from the people I've been speaking to so far. But yeah, it's difficult to discern these days, knowing what little revenue there is in the conventional streaming markets and things. I think the thing is, though, with metal, it's kind of different. There's never been more money in metal than now, because the tangible vinyl market is fucking huge, absolutely huge. The amount of people who've bought Eval's Hell Unleashed on vinyl and just posting those online, it's like, there's a lot more going on than there used to be in terms of brick and mortar products going out the door for metal.
Yeah.
But again, we don't know what the trickle down is. We don't know what the deals are these days. So it's difficult to assess exactly what, if anyone's doing a profit and loss sheet and going, am I going to sign this band or not? They've got 50,000 active listeners on Spotify. I don't know what it translates to. It's just a little bit more nuanced these days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a strange old thing at the minute, really, I like to say.
Yeah.
I did actually. It was actually in Preston about 3 weeks ago, and there was the usual outdoor market, and the guy selling albums. And I always have a little bit of a look if he's got a metal section, you know. I always have a little bit. And there, lo and behold, there's a brand new-ish, Fru's Advantage, 70 quid.
Even you're like fucking scalpers.
I mean, if it had been like a £5, I might have bought it off him, but I was like, no, I'm not having. He came over to me, he was like, I'll do you 10% off that. I said, that's my band. So I ended up signing it for him.
There you go. It's 65 quid now.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. That's good. So you didn't know that Roadrunner were a viable candidate, or you didn't know they didn't have a reputation with you guys at that point. Did you quickly wise up? Did you realize, oh shit, this is the Merciful Fate vehicle. This is where Metallica and Slayer came into Europe. Did that eventually dawn on you?
After time, I mean, that was one of the things when they were interested. Well, who else have they got? And we were like looking through Kerrang and looking at the adverts, and it was like, well, they got King Diamond. We were never big King Diamond fans, really, So it was a bit of like, who else have they got? I mean, I'm trying to remember who they did have at the time. I think they have. Oh, when you sent me those adverts, it reminded me of some of the things like Phantom Blue. The old girl band, the Widdly Widdly guitar old girl band. Who else did they have? I can't remember.
Yeah, Sepultura, that time. Yeah, around that time. I think Beneath the Remains comes out same year as Shattered Existence, didn't it?
Yes, because when they came over to, they did a couple of nights at the Marquee, Sepultura, and we were down, so we actually went to those gigs, met them, because we were like, and I always remember it was Igor. Mark introduced us. This is Xentrix, blah blah blah. This is Sepultura. We're like, yeah. And Igor just comes over to me and says, see him there," and he gets me to say something to this guy in Portuguese. I sort of like repeated what he said, and he's like, "Ha ha! You just called his mother a whore." All right, thanks.
Standard British personality.
Yeah, like okay. But no, they were quite good. When we did open for them a few years later, and they remembered us, weirdly enough.
Oh, that's nice of them.
They were nice. They were nice guys.
Yeah, so they had Annihilator.
That was after us as well, though.
I think it's like bang on the same time. They were definitely like in the pipeline around the same time. Cerebral Fix around.
That's
the same
it.
time.
Well, they were definitely after us because they were. Did they do some gigs with us? They were like talking to our management because I remember the guy from Cerebral Fix, Cerebral. However you say it.
Tony, Mr. Warburton, if it was him. I know he was heading it up in the latter years. I don't know about back.
What was the bass player called? I can't remember.
It don't matter. Do you remember who else was working at the office at that point? We've got Mark Palmer.
So Mark was the main guy. There was a guy called Rudy, and I can't remember his last name. Reed, that's it, of course. Yeah. And they had a young girl working there called Sophie, who's kind of dealt with us quite a bit, really.
Right, okay.
Taking us out to press stuff, and she came on a few gigs and stuff.
Yeah, did you meet Case at all? Was he present?
No.
Fair enough. Probably Jane between Amsterdam and New York.
Yeah, I don't think he was doing much in New York, but back then I don't think so. I think he was more sort of just doing the European things, really, that time.
Yeah.
Because their offices in London was like just some little crappy pit. It really was. The office when we first went to the office, we were really disappointed because it was just like it wasn't some glamorous record company offices with like pictures and gold discs on the wall. It was just like a crap little above a shop, sort of London terrace sort of thing, and it was just massively disappointing. We spent quite a bit of time there when we first got signed, doing like press, doing phone interviews and stuff, and it was the only thing we could do was like rob CDs when they weren't looking because we piles of CDs, and like at the time they were quite a commodity. You can get them home and go rubbish. they weren't just all Roadrunner bands. They got like CDs from other companies as well. So yeah, we just steal CDs and vinyl and stuff. I've still got some upstairs, you know.
Don't say that, man. Mark will come knocking again.
That's true. I know he will be saying, "Give me them back." Yeah, they were quite tight. That's when we did our first time down in London. They put us up at there's a quite a famous rock and roll hotel called the Columbia on Lancaster Gate, so opposite Hyde Park. From the outside it looks quite grand, but inside it's a bit of a pit, you know. And they do the rooms with like 4 beds in, and I think that's where that Mark give him the crummy room comes from that you mentioned. I'd forgotten about that. We must have said that because, you know, I think that was what, you know, whenever he rang them up to book us in, give him the crummy room. We had some quite wild nights there, but I remember the first time we went down there, we were all quite young and obviously skint, and it was London prices, and we figured out that if we stayed in the bar, we could put stuff on our room, and Roadrunner would pay for it. So I think we ran up some, like, you know, it was nothing at the time, it was probably like 60 quid bar bill, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably a round of drinks would cost you 60 quid now. And it didn't go down well at all with Roadrunner, you know, with Mark. He fell out with us about that. It's like we were being rock and roll, that's what we're supposed to do. God.
Fair news. So Shattered Existence comes out, and you go about a Ghostbusters single. So the cover for that was changed. Quite a famous story. But I'm interested in how it got out the door in the first place. But did the label just not give a fuck? They were just like, yeah, fuck it, let's stir up a bit of a controversy here and give the film studio the old up yours.
I think I just don't think they thought there would be a problem.
Really?
Literally, okay. That's all I thought. I think they just thought it'd be all right, you know, like it'd be fine, wouldn't it? And it was only at the last minute. I think somebody said, "Do you not think we better like send them a letter, just check?" And that's when it was like, oh dear, you know. They just got a cease and desist letter, you know. If you use this, we will sue you. Oh, okay, but we better not use that then. Even though they literally had them all printed up, you know. So foolishly, we used to throw them out at gigs. I should have kept a box, shouldn't I?
There'll be plenty floating around there. You'll see it at Market Day next time you go down.
Yeah, but how much will that be? I've seen it actually. I've seen it for sale. It goes for stupid money if you get the old cover.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous money because you just can't get them with that cover.
Yeah.
I did actually. I've got one of the T-shirts. Do you want me to show you?
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's quite old. You can't really tell because it's not dark enough. But it's actually glow in the dark.
Hey, that's all right, isn't it?
We would have sold 1 million of these, wouldn't we? We'd be rich beyond our wildest dreams. Yeah.
Still looks good though for what, 30 odd years?
Yeah, but there's only 2 of these made. Bravado, the company, that they did them, and then they got the same sort of. We better not use this.
Yeah, fair enough.
Sort of swine time thing on the back. It's such a shame, isn't it? We'd have sold 1 million of them.
Yeah, but AO, that's your pension sorted out.
Yeah.
So during your tenure with Roadrunner, you had a release of original music every year, whether it was in an LP or an EP or something like that. They kept you fucking busy. Was there like a method to the madness, or was it just your own work ethic going at it?
I think it was a mixture of the two. I don't think it's weird because when I think back, what we accomplished in such a short space of time, relatively now, but at the time it didn't feel like that. It just felt like, right, you know, this is what you're doing. You write some songs, you go and record them, you go and play some gigs, and repeat. You know, I mean, we never got to do enough touring, I don't think. At the time, you know, we never got the sort of big, you know, tour support around Europe. So it always felt like, you know, for Shattered Existence, we only did like 12 dates around the UK with Sabbath, and then a few gigs by ourselves and with some other bands. You know, like we did open for Sacred Reich. You know, we played some gigs with Slammer, bands like that. I can't remember at the time, all of them. But yeah, we didn't do like, you know, months away, which some of the other bands who were on a similar level to us got to do, particularly the American ones. You know, they all got to come over to Europe, you know, and like, we never got to go over there. We were always jealous of that.
I do wonder if like the A&R function between different territories is really treated in a dramatically different way. Because I know the US office, like the Monte Carlos of the world, they were the strategic A&R resource, whereas the UK and Germany and the other ones, they don't have as many sort of like signings to their name quite as much.
No.
So I wonder if there was like a strategy to that where the US acts maybe by virtue of being a US act got a certain treatment, but the other territories had to prove themselves, reach a certain threshold before they could do that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think they were definitely seen as, you know, if they were, you know, if they were a US, even if particularly if they were like a Bay Area band, then they'd get, you know, instantly get sort of like brought over here to do shows and package tours, you know, which obviously is a thing now, but back then I think they were doing it first, and we never got to do enough of those. That was the thing I always feel a little bit cheated of. But there you go.
Yeah, but I guess so Kin. So I keep reading that it was like a change of direction with the band and things like that. I think it was just like a natural progression. I don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's not thrash. I don't feel like it's prog or anything like that. I feel like it was like the natural steps to take. I don't know if this is me just reading the last few weeks and getting acquainted with all the material. Am I right in saying that people thought it was like a radical departure, and it's actually bollocks and it's just a normal stepping stones?
No, I think it was us trying to survive really, because at the time, you know, it was a funny time for metal, and it was all changing, you know, like Metallica were changing, Metallica were doing ballads, proper ballad, you know, and they were like, you know, if they did something then everyone had to try and follow, and all the thrash stuff was dying on its arse. So, you know, in the UK there was literally us left, you know, so we had to try and, well, at the time we thought, let's try and sort of diversify a bit, become a bit more sort of rounded, and I personally, I don't think it worked. It's my least favourite record, but I'm guilty of a lot of it, so I can't, you know, so a lot of it was my idea, so I can't really blame anyone else for it. But no, I always feel like it's not the record that should have come after. I know it came after Dialect Taste, but Dialect Taste was only an EP, but, you know, after Fruit's Advantage. And that's why when we did the last one, that was kind of what I wanted to do, was make the third album that should have come after Fruit's Advantage, really. And I think it does sit better. I think Kin's almost like a blip. I mean, people like it, and I like some of it. But yeah, you know, everyone's got their own opinion on it, haven't they?
I think like a lot of the bands do a similar kind of thing though, where to try and diversify a little more. I know Defiance's third album around the same time incorporated a lot of sort of grungy elements, and it sounds a little bit Alice in Chainsy in parts, and I think it's fucking great. But then again, it's probably my age. Like, it didn't feel like, none of that feels like a culture shock to me, because, you know, I started with Nirvana and things like that. So, but the thing that was missing from Kin was the killer hell of a guy list from hell and the liner notes.
And the guitar sound, it could have done with like a proper production, really. That's one of the things that's like lacking on there. Because we used to play a few songs, even on the reunion stuff, we played a couple live, and they did sound all right, you know. But it's just hindsight and all that, you know, it's easy to sort of point the finger, isn't it?
Especially these days when we're moving into digital live sound. and it's a lot easier to churn out a proper good mix quite quickly. And when you compare it with like the competencies of the studio in those days, it's like, oh, this is like a stark difference.
Yeah, everything really. Everything's there's almost no bad gear these days, compared to what we were using back in the day. You know, like guitars and amps and everything. You know, a cheap guitar was awful. A cheap guitar now is all right. You know, there's like it's almost like when I pick up like a sort of £300-400 guitar, it's like, well, this is like a £1,000 guitar when I was starting out. You know what I mean? It's like a cheap guitar was awful. You couldn't hardly play it. Would never stay in tune back then, back in the 80s, like, you know. So, but yeah, everything's got a bit different, really, gear-wise. I think everything's sort of like reached that level that there's no excuse really for things to sound really bad.
It's like we were saying earlier. It's like usually recording would cost thousands upon thousands upon thousands. Now you can chop it up and pump more money into post-production and things like that. But yeah, we're lucky, my lot.
In some ways, but you know, there's something about going in the studio and actually doing it all together and actually getting those sounds and spending time doing it, and you know, it being an actual process. That's kind of lost now, but that's just economics. You know, the economics of doing it that way, just for a band of our size, just aren't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So during this time, what's your relationship with Roadrunner like? I know you said you felt a bit cheated because you didn't get put on the road a lot and they were quite stingy, I guess is the word.
Yeah. I don't think they were the only ones making any money. Now we always sort of, you know, always still stay friends with Mark. Still speak to him now. You know, he came on my stag do, you know, 10 years ago, and he came to my wedding, you know. So, yeah, but yeah, we you know, we have sort of like our opinions and we'd vent on each other at that time, you know. But he'd deal a lot with our actual manager, so we kind of just find out the sort of bits and bats of what was going on, you know.
After the fact, yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. So how did the relationship come to an end then?
They just said, "Oh, we're not going to pick up your next option." So it's like, oh, okay, right, okay. So long and thanks for all the fish, really, you know. Yeah, I think it was just a phone call like that. I think from Mark. Just I remember him saying it. It's like, okay, right. So I think that at the time they dropped a lot of bands, and I think it was. I heard the rumor I heard was that they were getting together so they could offer. I think it was Slipknot a big deal, like a major label, to keep them on Roadrunner, and that was kind of the start, I think, of you know, the Monty Connor sort of sweep. You know, when he came in and sort of you know, they turned into like quite a big metal label then after us. You know.
Yeah, it's
the Roadrunner United days.
They found,
you know?
Yeah, it's they sort of found some niches and made them a lot bigger, and they found certain sounds because around the time you were with them, they were diversifying a lot, like into alt rock and some other areas and things like that. But towards like the Slipknot era, Nickelback era, you've got like these two platinum bands which then keep the lights on so they can keep doing metal, basically. That seems to be the arc.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, I think they were basically sort of cleaning the decks at the time, and you know, the idea was that they just put all the money into offering Slipknot this deal, which obviously paid off for them. You know, I'm not bitter about it. It was like,
totally.
That's the way it happens.
So Corey Taylor owes you a drink. That's what you're fucking saying.
Yeah.
Did you approach Mark again when you reformed?
I think Chris did. I think Chris sent him. Ashley sent him the stuff, but and we did get some interest from Nuclear Blast from one of the German guys through Andy. But it I think they all. Mark knew Laurent, who's the guy from Listenable, who we ended up going with. That was one of the reasons he approached us. He was a big Xentrix fan, and I think that was the thing. I think he wouldn't have taken us off because Laurent wanted to put us out, you know, and he like a good year and a half before we actually finished the record. We did a gig in Belgium, and he was there and he spoke to us, you know, and he was like, when you want to do a record, I'll sort you out, you know. So I think that was kind of the thing. But yeah, I mean, you know, we speak to Mark all the time, really. Always sending him offensive texts, and you know.
It's even like with Monty Connor, I think with his obviously A&R stamp, there's a lot of bands in the US and a lot of them who fell off as well in sort of the 80s and 90s. He's still on like regular speaking terms with loads of them. I just think it's part of that community. It's just how it fucking goes sometimes.
Yeah. You can't, you know, you're gonna be big enough to. It's just business, isn't it? It's just the way where the cookie crumbles. You know, it's not. I mean, Xentrix was on definitely on the way down then anyway. After Kin, that was kind of our sort of make or break, and then we did one more record with a different singer, and then, you know, it's another record that shouldn't be a Xentrix record, really.
The Scourge.
Yeah, you know. Again, I like it, but it's not really the same band, you know. At the time, we wanted to change the name, but Heavy Metal Records, they were like, oh no, if we put it out, it's got to be a Xentrix record. And you know, we were just like, yeah, whatever. Let's get this thing out. So
yeah. It's so northern. I love it. Like, fuck it, yeah.
Whatever. All right, yeah, we'll put it out as that then. We couldn't be asked thinking of a different name anyway. It was like hours, evenings. Just some of the names we come up with. You know, you just end up going around in circles, and then it just ends up being comedy names. You know, and it's just like you get nothing done then.
Yeah.
It's awful.
So these days, you guys are coming back in amidst what is regarded as a thrash revival, which happened in sort of the mid-noughties. What do you reckon about that as a landscape and a kind of an ecosphere, and how we compartmentalize newer thrash bands?
I don't know. I mean, there's some great stuff. I remember quite a while ago when Evo first started, I got an email from HORR. I think they'd just done the first demo, and he sent it to me. And you know, we saw him at one of the gigs. In fact, I remember at the time, my son wanted one of these. You remember the Nintendo Wii things? Mm-hmm. And there was a year when it came out at Christmas, you couldn't get the controllers. You could get the things, but you couldn't get the extra controller. I remember seeing it all and I was like, I can't get this out. He says, I work at Game, I'll get you one. So, I forgot what I was on about now. I was just on about Evo. They're great, you know, those guys are great. The Shrapnel guys, who you know, are brilliant. There's some great thrash metal out there. I don't know how we fit into all that. I think we just we've just got that Xentrix legacy, really. I think that's just. I think it was late 2000s. There was a spate of reunions. I think you were reunited for a couple of years as well. Yeah.
My thing is, though, at what point do we stop calling it thrash revival and start just calling it fucking thrash? Because how many eras do you want to go through?
Well, that's it. I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to ask about that, really. I don't really study it enough. But yeah, I mean, I know the only people that haven't come back were Slammer, which we tried to get them to come back. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, obviously with Milo dying, I don't think that's going to happen now anyway. Yeah, the Sabbath one, because I went when they got back together first time round. I went on a few of their foreign gigs and videoed it, right. And I got to see sort of firsthand. You know, this was before Xentrix had done it. I was like, oh, we should definitely do this. If we can go away and have this much fun, you know, play metal with your mates, because that's basically what it's about. You know, that's why we do it, because we love it. You know, we definitely don't do it for the money.
There's something to be said for lowering the stakes, isn't there?
Say again. What do you mean?
There's something to be said for lowering the stakes. Like, if you just don't, obviously take it seriously, but understand that it is having a laugh.
Yeah. It's weird because it's strangely enough, in the last sort of, I don't know, 5 years of getting back together and playing gigs, we've done way better stuff, gig-wise and tour-wise, than we did when we were doing it properly, it's so-called, in the Roadrunner days. You know, I mean, we got to go to Japan before the pandemic hit. It was like, how good's that, you know? I know, it was albeit for 2 days. We went to Tokyo for 2 days.
It's 2 days more than most of the people on the planet, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it was ace. You know, but you know, we got to do loads of European stuff, and you know, write records and enjoy it. That is the main thing. Like you say, it's back then. Obviously, you think you're going to change the world, and you think you're going to be like, you know, the next big thing in the back of your mind. You know, you're always thinking that's what we need to do. We need to be everything. Nothing else matters, and it's that's the whole what you're focused on. You know. And now it's not that at all. But in some ways it makes it sort of more focused, and you're clear about what you're doing in a strange type of way. So I much prefer it. I much prefer what we like now as to what we were then. Like on a personal level as well, we're enjoying it a hell of a lot more. We get on with each other easier, you know. There's no real animosity at all. Not that there was a lot back in the day, but you know, we definitely fall out more back then.
Yeah. Would you do anything differently at all?
Probably, yeah. In fact, loads of stuff. I'm trying to think what it is. Yeah. I probably. Now the big one is, would you have done Ghostbusters, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose.
Part of me's like, I want to say no, but then it's like, you know, it's one of them things that people love it. Most people love it, and saw the comedy in it. But we didn't really want to be a comedy band. It was just a bit of like, you know, let's not take everything super seriously. That was what Ghostbusters was. But yeah, we didn't, you know, everyone else was doing comedy stuff, and we didn't really want to do that. And we ended up sort of falling into that sort of thing, really.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I probably would say yes. We probably would do that one. But there's loads of other little things that I would change looking back. Yeah. Like production-wise and bits and songs and things. There's loads of things I'd changed that I probably couldn't really. It'd take me too long to tell you them all, really.
It probably, even if you made those changes at the time and made all the right calls, you'd probably be still sat here now going, yeah.
Probably, yeah. You're probably right. It's you just don't know, do you? It's
you can't win,
you know. But
you can never win.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to have got more tours under our belt. That would have been good. We just didn't really get the chance, I don't think. We did 2 European tours, one with Annihilator, one with Tankard. They were great, you know. They were great tours, and we really went down well on those. But yeah, I would have loved to have, you know, I mean, it would have been great to have got out to America.
Yeah.
But there you go.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, it is.
Unfortunately. All right, man. Well, that's all I've got for questions and things like that. All right. I very much appreciate you, presumably after a working day, coming and talking about your old employers.
It's all right. No problem.
Yeah. What do you